Hello there and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to have a look at one of the sort of films from the low weight area of Jackie Chan's career, and that is Half a Loaf of Kung Fu. This is, again, like I've mentioned in previous reviews, this is when Lo Wei and like Jackie Chan were butting heads a lot. Lo Wei was just under the guise that he's got to try and market him as the next, Jackie is the next Bruce Lee. You know, doing films such as New Fist of Fury, which, as we all know, was never going to be sort of Jackie's style. This was never going to be what Jackie Chan was about. Half a Loaf of Kung Fu is very much different. This is very much Jackie Chan really getting chance here to show his comedic side, to get across that sort of the performer that he was. This is one of the first early attempts, like I say, making that kind of kung fu comedy, that slapstick style that would later, you know, go on to launch Jackie into superstardom, as we all know, and just propel him into the stratosphere, you know, with films such as Snake and Eagle Shadow, Drunken Master, Fearless Hyena, etc. At the time, Jackie's name was pretty much becoming synonymous with films that weren't doing that well. He was pretty much, you know, not that he was failing, but he wasn't living up to sort of the potential that maybe people thought he was going to live up to. Even though like his stunt work and his ability was always respected within the industry, his films were becoming, mainly in part due to Lo Wei and just some of the films that he was putting him in, just was not for Jackie. It just wasn't. They hadn't found that niche yet for Jackie Chan in what they, you know, the way he was going to like move forward with his career. So you say, unfortunately, his name was just getting sort of labelled and lumped with all these sort of not failures, but just films that were not living up to sort of what like producers and people behind the scenes sort of hoped for, especially what Jackie Chan hoped for. The film is actually directed by Chen Chi-hwa, but that's why this film does allow Jackie to breathe a lot more. This isn't, although it's still done for the Lo Wei company, it's not Lo Wei behind the camera in this film. It is still with his company, but this is Jackie Chan having a little bit more control, able to get a bit more freedom in like the fight sequences and the film he wants to make. You know, so it's still, I'd say, still very much, people call it a Lo Wei era film, which in many ways it is, but it's not actually a Lo Wei movie. He was able to show a different side to him here, other than like the straight movie silent hero that we sort of were getting in, like sort of some of the other Lo Wei vehicles. Made in 1978, the film almost lampoons the kung fu genre. It almost takes the mickey out of what the kung fu genre was and the martial arts genre as a whole. I know Lo Wei was not pleased with what he saw when the film was completed, which does make you wonder if Lo Wei ever really understood Jackie's true potential in the same way someone like Yuen Woo-ping did. You know, I just think sort of they were doomed to fail from the start in many ways. Not to say, as I've mentioned in previous reviews, that Lo Wei didn't direct Jackie in some good films. Like I've said before, you know, Dragon's Fist, Spiritual Kung Fu are two of my favourites, but they just would just it was never going to go further than what it did due to the two butting heads a lot, as we know. So, you know, this was a guy with obvious kung fu. This was Jackie Chan, you know, great kung fu skills, great charisma, comedic talent, and Wei was just trying to market him into something that he wasn't. Where this film enabled Chan to gain more control, it also enabled him to gain more experience in terms of filmmaking, action choreography, what works, what doesn't. No doubt all this time coming to pay off when he went to, you know, make films such as Fearless Hyena and Young Master in 1980. What is interesting about this film is if you watch it, you will notice that the fights in the first hour of the movie, it's really interesting because I've seen this film so many times. I had it back on VHS back in the day, and it's nice that 88 Films brought it out on Blu-ray. Thank you so much for that. But if you look at the first hour of the movie, you know, it's very slapstick and it's almost goofy in nature. But as the film progresses, particularly in reference to the end fight scenes, we get much tighter, fluid, faster choreography. As the film progresses, it really does go up several gears because it's everything up for about the first hour or so. It's very sort of slapsticky. It's very, like I say, very goofy. But especially towards that end fight sequence, everything just gets amped up. The fights become much faster. And that's why people, when you're watching Half a Loaf of Kung Fu, if you just bear with it, keep, you know, although it's sort of an odd commodity, this film, but it's still an enjoyable kung fu movie. But if you bear with it and if you're thinking, oh, the fights are not that, you know, this isn't, it's all a bit too childish or you know, whatever for me, just bear with it until you get to sort of the last half hour, because the fights become a lot faster, and it's worth noting that as well. It's just very interesting. I think in a way this could be seen in regards that throughout the film Jackie's character is actually learning kung fu, so he's getting better and better, and also to make the audience aware that he wasn't taking the mickey out of the art form, and also to show that it's not all just slapstick and fart jokes, and there is actually, you know, some real proper choreography here to be found in this film. So that's what I said. That's a very interesting thing about this, because I think it's like it got to the point where it's like let's do a tongue-in-cheek kung fu movie. Let's do a tongue-in-cheek kung fu movie, and then it's almost like Jackie and Chen Chi-hwa suddenly thought, "No, hang on, wait, we've got to actually show that we can do the stuff as well." And I think that's what does happen in the last, like I say, 30 minutes or so. So the film opens with like this dream sequence, and in many people's eyes, this is one of, if not the best scene in the movie, just the opening sort of credits. You know, because like a loads of kung fu movies, they usually have the main protagonist doing some form of kung fu that's going to be relevant to the movie on just like a plain backdrop. We get to see Jackie here given a chance to play different characters, like from martial arts movies, and just basically just showing his range and what he can do, and also showing the audience and like other people what he is aware of, and he's taking note of all these different things. We go from Zatoichi like swordsman to like a King Hu film like swordsman. It's worth mentioning, of course, that Jackie Chan was the action choreographer in this one. Then we get him as like an abbot, or him using like a super mini like Wing Chun dummy, like a really tiny one. It's just having a bit of fun with what becomes sort of kung fu movie traits and just mixing it up a little bit. So Jackie Chan is just a down and out who goes to apply for this job as a bodyguard, and this other big guy wants it, and they get into like a skirmish. I use that word as it's not a fight as such. It's not like they fall out because each other wants the job. I mean, it basically just turns into Jackie Chan just throwing eggs at him inside this like chicken coop. That's basically your first, the first guy he encounters is just throwing eggs at him. Just to give you an idea sort of how the film sets up. So he goes to this other school where he applies to be like a handyman, where there is like supposedly this witch staying. It is here we have another dreamlike sequence where Jackie eats some leaves and then the Popeye theme plays. Again, this fight scene in this dream sequence play very slapsticky, not done with any sort of speed or sort of really tight. The choreography is still fun, but it's played more just for giggles. It's played more just for laughs. He spies on the witch after going to get some food and gets caught, so he runs away. So that's the plot so far. He then witnesses a fight between two kung fu masters and takes the loser with a price in his head to get a reward to this magistrate who has like a very severe twitch, and he takes the killer's identity, and I think it's like the whip hero, and it's called different things. But that he takes the identity of this guy, and watch out for Wu Ma as well in this movie. He also makes a brief appearance, and many of you will remember him. Mainly from like the most obvious one being something like Chinese Ghost Story. A beggar observes Jackie Chan. Dean Shek as well turns up as this guy who just basically keeps farting and teaches Jackie Chan some moves. And it turns out like he's sort of the student of this other beggar. Dean Shek you'll probably mostly remember from being in Drunken Master, Snake and the Eagle's Shadow. He had a brief cameo in Fearless Hyena. Then he runs into this the master and witch who are from like where he was staying before, and is challenged by her but saved by this other, like the older beggar. And Jackie Chan wants him to be like his master, and he questions this, asking how can the whip hero need a master, because at this point he's just taken this guy's identity, but the beggar knows sort of what he's doing. It's only really when he finds these two kung fu masters and takes the guy in to get the money, his reward, that's sort of when the film begins. That's sort of the start of the plot of the movie. Up to then, like with a lot of kung fu movies, they kill time. They just give you some fun action scenes for the first 30 minutes or so. Then the film actually begins. So how can the whip hero need a master, he says, and he gives him like this token, and there's also this, he's being spied on by this other guy at the same time with this like bright red braided hair. So it's all, you know, it's all done, it's not to be taken that seriously, this movie, as I've said with all the things I've said so far. You can probably guess that anyway. Then we go to James Tien, who like he's cropped up in a lot of films I've reviewed so far. As I say, many of you will know from Big Boss, some of the Bruce Lees, in like Villain in Winners and Sinners, Heart of Dragon. He was the villain in that as well. And a lot of sort of the Sammo Hungs from the 80s, Millionaire's Express as well. His father, Fong Wei, and his sister at this inn. Two thugs in there causing trouble as always. Jackie steals their wallet and the daughter steals Jackie's. Just like a little fun scene. Then Dean Shek arrives again, where Jackie Chan, detecting his smell, says, God, your farts arrive before you do. I mean, this is the kind of... Some of the humour you could be seen as a bit, lowbrow, fart jokes and things like that. But I think it just adds to the goofiness and wackiness of the movie. I just think it, like I say, the fact is, like, Dean Shek he's this kung fu sort of beggar master sort of type of role, but his gimmick is he just keeps farting, so Jackie Chan always knows when he's near because he can always smell his farts. And it's funny because he says, your farts arrive before you do, and he says, well, Dean Shek goes, well, that's how I get people's attention. Just really, as I say, just such lowbrow humour, but fun nonetheless. He said, and Dean Shek teaches him another move. The two from the inn catch up with Jackie as they want the money back. Fong Wei, the sort of master, sort of James Chen, and his sister's character sort of saves him. A girl spying on them confronts Jackie Chan about being the whip hero. Lap you seeing his sister, that turns out to be his sister, and she takes back the whip, saying, how dare you impersonate sort of my brother. So Feng Wei and his children are escorting some treasures. This is where the film we're getting sort of near to what the film actually happening. The plot, what the actual MacGuffin is. They're moving these treasures. They're escorting them, so they're known as like the longevity jade and the soul reviving pill, which Jackie Chan is sort of tasked with helping them. He sort of inadvertently sort of gets coasting to sort of helping them. All this time as well, just remember that it's not like other films where Jackie Chan already knows Kung Fu, he's already a master, much like something like Young Master, where he does know Kung Fu already. Drunken Master, he sort of knows Kung Fu already. Here in this film, he's sort of a wannabe Kung Fu master. He's sort of bluffing it and he's cocky, but he doesn't really know much. But throughout the film, he is learning. This is something they do sort of make interesting. It's not like we have a montage training sequence, then all of a sudden he knows Kung Fu. He is constantly learning throughout this movie. He's throughout the whole running length until basically the end of the movie. He's trying to learn Kung Fu. The clan with the guy with the red braided hair show up, and Feng Wei gets injured here. If worth mentioning at this point in the movie, if you watch it closely, there's a scene where Jackie's hairstyle actually changes, because Jackie Chan's hairstyle in this film is quite unique. It's quite big, and there's a scene, probably because maybe it might have been a reshoot or a shot out of sequence, I don't know. But if you watch this scene I'm talking about, his hair does change briefly in a couple of shots for about a minute or so. It just changes to what it has been to so far at that point. And so the Becker gives the Jackie Chan a Kung Fu manual. It turns out James Chen works for the Five Poison School. James Chen is usually he's always a traitor, isn't he? He was a traitor in Dragon Fist, and he's a traitor in this as well. And it's basically basically the whole film is about some group of bad people who want to get these items. And, they always have to have a traitor. What I like about this movie is that Jackie Chan, like I've said, gradually gets better. The fight scenes get faster, they get tighter. You get that choreography that you come to expect from Jackie Chan, and it's almost a sense they saved the best till last, or they were sort of holding fire, because I think they might have been worried that like Jackie Chan and Chen Chi-hwa were sort of mocking the industry that they're trying to sort of get into and make a name for themselves on. Climax of the film is very much like a mass brawl with all the clans turning up, wanting what's on the convoy. It is nice as well to see Dean Shek getting involved with the fight scenes here. It's nice to see Dean Shek. I love it when Dean Shek and Jackie Chan are on the same side, because like anything like Snake and Eagle Shadow, Drunken Master, they sort of hate each other. But it's nice to see Dean Shek here on the same side and helping Jackie, and getting quite a good handful of the fight sequences as well. It's nice to see Dean taking part, much like he does at the end of sort of Warriors 2, but he gets to show his stuff here, Dean Shek, which is, I'd say, great fun to see. And fight with Jackie Chan on the same side. A lot of the Jackie Chan facial expressions that come up here that you know, that sort of Jackie Chan face, like the comedy faces that he does are very evident here. Worth note that at one point Jackie Chan uses a guy's wig as like a Bruce Lee style nunchaku, like, so that it just, you know, I think that's even on the cover as well. You can see that with just him using this guy's wig, you know, dreaming about all the kung fu masters that he wants to be like. Just all good fun stuff, you know. As I say, it's a shame that that sequence didn't go on for longer when he's sort of doing nunchuck style with this guy's wig. It's very brief, but it's still fun when he does it. Even at the very end, he is still learning. The very end fight, he's reading pages from the book. So again, that's a novelty. I think, you know, I think that's like with other movies, it's always important to make each fight sequence, each action sequence different from what was come before or what's happened so far. So like the idea, okay, it is a straight kung fu fight, but it is nice to see, okay, there's a kung fu fight, but he's having to read the pages while he's fighting this guy to work out what he's doing and what's the next move he should be learning, which makes it a very fun end fight sequence. And it basically, it turns out all the film, it turns out like that all was fake, basically, that all these treasures and everything they were escorting is basically just so they could just wipe out all these evil clans. That's all they were trying to do. They were just trying to lure them out. The treasures are not really that important. There's not even really any treasure. It's basically just at the end so they could just lure out all these evil clans and just like dispose of them, really. But that's a brief, but you know, overall view of Half a Loaf of Kung Fu. Like from this era, like I've said before in previous reviews, my favourites sort of from the Lo Wei time are Spiritual Kung Fu and Dragon Fist. They're two of my favourites, but Half a Loaf of Kung Fu is still very much an enjoyable one. It's definitely worth one checking out. It's definitely by far not one of the worst, but it still holds up in the sense it enables Jackie Chan to show that comedic side, to show that slapstick side that really got him noticed. And you can always tell when Jackie Chan is more in control because he seems to be enjoying himself a lot more. He seems to be he seems more relaxed on camera as well, when you can tell he hasn't got sort of maybe necessarily Lo Wei breathing down his neck, do this, do that, and I want it done like this. I think this enabled Jackie Chan to get a lot more freedom and to, you know, get more experience and to, you know, give him what he needed in his arsenal to go on to make films, you know, that we all later come to associate him with. So if you've never seen Half a Loaf of Kung Fu, please check it out. While not the best from sort of, like I say, early Jackie Chan's career, it's still worth you know, checking out because it's got some fun scenes in it. And like I say, just remember that the first hour or so is quite lowbrow, but check out the last half hour or so because the fight scenes really do ramp up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.